So what was Aragorn up to before the events of Lord of the Rings? Aragorn actually loses both of his parents at an extremely young age. But like all heirs of Isildur, he's raised here in Rivendell under the tutelage and care of Elrond Half-Elven, who is actually a distant relative of Aragorn, thousand times removed, of course, because his twin brother, who chose to be a man, was the first king of Númenor, Elros Tar Miniator, where Aragorn is actually descended from. But Elrond actually hides this from him, saying his name is Estelle, meaning hope in Elvish. And during this time, he's kind of raised as his own son, right next to the twin sons of Elrond, Elladan and Elrohir. And they go on a lot of adventures and so forth. But when Aragorn becomes a man, at 21 years old, he's finally approached by Elrond, who tells him, "You are the heir of Isildur," and gives him the artifacts of his house, being the broken blade Narsil that Elendil wielded against Sauron in the War of the Last Alliance, and of course the Ring of Bedahir, which is descended all the way from Beren and the story of Beren and Luthien. The next day, he's full of hope. He's like, "I'm Aragorn. I have so much to do in my life, so much to look forward to." And he sings the song about his ancestor, Beren, the poem of Beren and Luthien. And out of nowhere comes Arwen, looking like Luthien. And it's like Aragorn's mind is blown and he falls in love immediately. After the realization of his heritage, he goes and starts traveling around Middle-earth and starts assisting the different free peoples, even going as far as Rohan, where he helps Thengel, the father of Theoden, in the story of Lord of the Rings, and goes to Gondor, where he takes on the name Thorongil and becomes a great leader of men there, serving under Ecthelion II, the father of Lord Denethor, the steward we meet also in Lord of the Rings. He does great service here, and even Denethor is jealous of him because he has some realization that this is the heir of Isildur. But, all good things must end. And Thorongil, or Aragorn, goes and fights against the Corsairs of Umbar, taking out the captain of the Haven with very few casualties, but never returns to Minas Tirith, where they want to celebrate him. And, he sends a message instead, crossing over the Anduin, and is like, "Hey, I have great deeds, and I'll probably not return to Minas Tirith in your lifetime. Thanks for everything. See ya." After all these great adventures in Rohan and Gondor, Aragorn heads back to Rivendell and on the way stops in Lothlorien, where he sees Arwen again. And he kind of professes his love for her and proposes to her and gives her the Ring of Bedahir on Cairn Amroth. And it's there that they're kind of betrothed to some extent, and then leaves to go back to Rivendell. Sometime before this, though, he does meet Gandalf, and they become best friends, and he's the one who actually suggests that he start hanging around Eriador, where the Shire is in Bree, and that's kind of where he gets the name Strider. After this long period, and after Lothlorien and going back to Rivendell, he starts to really become involved in this area, even going as far as to helping Gandalf in the search for Gollum. It takes him 8 years to actually find Gollum, all the way down in the Emyn Muil, that area where Samwise and Frodo actually meet Gollum as well. And he brings him all the way up north to Mirkwood, to Thranduil, and goes back west to meet Gandalf. And some disturbing things start going down. Gandalf is missing, and he never met Frodo, who Gandalf had told him would be going on a journey that September to bring the ring to Rivendell. And he runs into Gildor and Glorion, that elf that Frodo, Samwise, and Pippin actually run into at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, who tells him that black riders are afoot and Gandalf is missing. And Aragorn gets some urgency and starts trying to chase down Frodo, and eventually sees him enter Bree from the Old Forest, and then runs into him at the Prancing Pony. And as we know, the rest is history in the Lord of the Rings and the War of the Ring, where the Fellowship is formed and they go on their great adventure, which ends with Aragorn becoming king. But one last thing that had happened before these events that I want to talk about is what Elrond says to Aragorn. He tells him, "In order to have the hand of my daughter, you must become king of Arnor and Gondor," really showing a similarity between a certain King Thingol and Beren and Luthien.